Very good. Good evening. At this time, I will call to order this regular meeting of the Thousand Oaks City Council on November 4th, 2025. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Adam?
Here.
Councilmember Engler?
Here.
Councilmember Gutierrez?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Taylor?
Here.
And Mayor Newman?
Here. Our first item is we go to closed session, and City Attorney Noonan.
Thank you, Mayor Newman. We have 5 closed sessions tonight. The first one is conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 pertaining to property 1868 Thousand Oaks Boulevard. Second matter is existing litigation pursuant to 54956.9A, McLucas versus Thousand Oaks. Third one is same existing litigation, Gold versus City of Thousand Oaks. Fourth one is the same existing litigation, Department of Housing and Community Development versus Shangri-La. And the last one is also litigation, Roberts Construction versus Shangri-La.
Thank you. And this evening on these closed session items, we do have public speakers. There are 2 speakers listed, Linda Johnstone, followed by Eddie Cerami. And you each have 3 minutes. So Ms. Johnstone, I ask you to please come to the lectern and proceed when ready. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, Honorable Mayor, Honorable City Council. I'm Dr. Linda Johnstone, and I'm here along with my business partner, Dr. Eddie Cerami. And together we own the dental practice that operates out of the building at 1868 East Thousand Oaks Boulevard. We have served this community as dentists for the past 35 years. I've personally lived in Thousand Oaks for the past 25 years. We are excited about the new downtown master plan and the long-term vision for our city, but we are deeply concerned about the significant construction planned around our building. With the construction taking place on all 4 sides of our office, our ability to effectively and easily care for our patients will be severely impacted. After extensive evaluation, we have concluded that our practice will not be able to continue to operate under these circumstances. Because of this, we have been actively seeking a new location. We are ready to relocate and to continue serving our community, and we believe that our transitioning sooner will benefit both our practice as well as the city's progress. At the same time, we respectfully request the city's cooperation and timely assistance in facilitating our move, as relocating will require at least 8 months to a year to complete if everything goes smoothly. At this stage in our careers, making such a significant transition was not something we had anticipated, but ensuring continuity of care for our patients as well as maintaining stability for our staff is of paramount importance. And after much due diligence, we have submitted a proposal to the city and are awaiting a response. We kindly ask for prompt consideration given the time frame required. We appreciate your collaboration and understanding, and we remain supportive and enthusiastic about the city's downtown master plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Johnstone. And we go next to Dr. Cerami. Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Honorable City Council members. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. As my partner, Dr. Linda Johnstone, mentioned, we have been practicing dentistry and taking care of the community of Conejo Valley for over 35 years, and 23 years to be exact at 1868 East Thousand Oaks Boulevard. We've always been supportive of the city's downtown master plan, and we know how it will have a positive impact on the community. At the same time, we realize the impact that this development will have on our own practice. And as a result, we have decided to relocate our dental practice to a new location. We appreciate your cooperation of this to help us make this task happen. And we have located a new place, and the owners have patiently been waiting for us to give them the green light to go ahead. We met with contractors and different technology, companies to get this office going. And we would say it would take at least 8 months to a year for sure. And so we are willing to move out and help with this beautiful master plan, downtown master plan that we're so excited about. I think it's going to help the young people. My son spoke here last time, and I believe might have been you, Mr. Councilman Bob Engler, that mentioned that we don't want you to move out of this town for the young people. We want you to stay. I think this place, building these beautiful, plans that they have, it will provide residence for, some of the people that, badly needed to stay here rather than move to under, San Fernando Valley or even LA County. So last but not least, I would like to acknowledge the hard work of Mr. Akbar Ali Khan. Without his hard work and consistent meetings and negotiation skills and knowledge, we wouldn't be here at this point that we are right now today. So also I would like to thank Mr. Kevin Cohan with Elevated Entitlements to help us understand this process a little bit better. And my wife and I, she's a dental hygienist, she's here, Daria, and combined years of service of hers, mine, and Dr. Johnson, I think would say about 90 years of service in this Thousand Oaks. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to hear from you regarding the facilitating this movement from our current dental office to a new office. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sarami.
Appreciate it.
We now go to closed session and we'll return at 6 p.m. And we are back from closed session. Attorney Noonan, is there anything to report?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. At this time, I ask if you are able, please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is the time for public comment. We go to our city clerk, Ms. McGuire.
This is the time and place for public comments. Speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. 2 individuals have requested to speak, and pursuant to council standards, speakers are allowed 3 minutes. The yellow light displays when you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you. Our 2 speakers this evening are Gary Hartung and Josh Gray. Mr. Hartung.
I oppose the water rate increases. Secondly, I believe it was last month I was here talking about the 8 p.m. singing performances, and I said that the city council needs to tell these performers when you discuss a contract with them that they will have a 2, perhaps 3 p.m. performance for us old geezers. I went to a couple of the performances at 8 p.m. the last 2 years, and it was very difficult for me to stay awake. So in the near future, when you discuss contracts with these people, they're definitely very talented, but I would rather listen to them sing at 2 in the afternoon when I'm awake. So tell them they either agree to sing at 2 o'clock or they're not getting a contract. Thank you.
Thank you. We go next to Josh Gray. Good evening.
Thank you, Mayor Newman and council members. Josh Gray, Director of Government Affairs and Tourism from the Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber was proud to join the Thousand Oaks community and many of you last week in celebrating Amgen's groundbreaking ceremony for the $600 million Center for Science and Innovation. The Leadership Conejo cohort toured the Thrive Grove Navigation Center 2 weeks ago after electing to do their class project on site, and will have its 3rd session on November 21st with CVUSD and Las Virgenes Water District. The ribbon cutting coming up over the next month that you golf fans won't want to miss is SVN2 Indoor Golf. I've been told there will be some pro golfers scheduled to attend, and if you haven't seen the bays where to play, it is a lot of fun, and I highly recommend attending either for the ribbon cutting or afterwards. This Friday, November 7th, the Chamber will have its next Spotlight Breakfast on healthcare and education with a fantastic panel of leaders, including Phil Butel, CEO of Los Robles Health System, Dr. Adam Cavallero, Regional Medical Director for UCLA Health, Dr. Michael Feltner, Founding Dean of the School of Health Sciences from Pepperdine University, and Dr. John Nunez, President of Cal Lutheran University. Legislative Roundtable is going to have a special edition on November 25th with Assemblymember Jackie Irwin to talk about the 2025 legislative session and provide a preview of what 2026 will have in store. On tourism, the TIDS RevPAR numbers for October, while still incomplete for those last few days, did look really good with strong business travel to the area for most of the month, and the TID returning to its historical positioning compared to our neighbors. On socials, we continue to see large increases in follower growth, engagement, views, and impressions across all platforms, and had 17 collaboration posts in September with almost 200,000 plays. Also, a special note, on October 11th, the TID and our PR partners We're able to collaborate to get MTV's Jersey Shore star Jenny JWoww Farley, who is in the area for filming, to share her experiences at Sullivan's Restaurant on her social media follower count of roughly 7.8 million. This highlights how the Conejo Valley continues to attract notable visitors and showcase its growing reputation to both celebrities and traditional visitors. The next TID meeting will be the board retreat next Tuesday at CLU from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We appreciate this very important partnership to support our hotel partners and local businesses through increased tourism. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Appreciate the updates. We move now to the consent calendar. Council members, are there any questions or items to pull from the consent calendar? And we have no speakers on consent items, correct? Very good. Then I'll ask for a motion on consent.
Happy to move consent items.
Will the clerk please prepare us for a vote?
And that motion passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. We go to the city clerk again to open our public hearing for this evening.
Hearing advertised as required by law is open to consider agenda item number 10A, water and wastewater rates and fee adjustments. Speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence. 5 people have presented cards, and pursuant to council standards, speakers are allowed 5 minutes each. The yellow light displays when you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you. And presenting this evening will be Tara Tosato, the city's budget officer. And available for questions are Deputy Finance Director Carrie Mattson and Public Works Director Nader Hidari. Ms. Tosato, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Newman and members of the council. My name is Tara Tosato. I'm the budget officer in the finance department. Joining me tonight is our Deputy Finance Director, Carrie Mattson, and our Public Works Director, Nader Hidari. Additionally, Charles Diamond, Principal Consultant from Water Resource Economics, who assisted the city's staff by preparing the utility rate studies, is on Zoom. Tonight is the public hearing and first reading to introduce ordinances that will implement the water and wastewater rate changes for the next 2 years. City Council approved the 2025 water and wastewater rate studies on September 29th, 2025, which established the proposed rate schedules. Those studies determine the financial framework necessary to support operations, maintenance, and capital investment for both utilities. Tonight's hearing is focused on putting these approved rates into effect through the formal ordinance introduction and companion resolutions. These include updating the city's water and wastewater rate schedules, adopting new fees for meter installations, establishing administrative penalties for water theft. In addition, formalizing the bill appeal procedure for customers and other administrative billing amendments. This hearing also satisfies the Proposition 218 requirements for the water and wastewater rate ordinances. Proposition 218 ensures the property owners are notified and given the opportunity to comment or protest proposed rate changes. During this presentation, I'll start with a brief overview of the purpose of the hearing and the background behind the rate proposals, including the factors driving the updates. We will then move to the water rate and fees, followed by the wastewater rates and fees, both consistent with the 2025 rate studies approved by council. After that, we'll summarize the municipal code amendments, and finally, I'll conclude with the next steps in the implementation schedule for the new rates and fees beginning January 2026. Before getting into the specific rates and fees, I want to briefly ground us in what these two utilities do for our community and why these updates are important. Our water system serves 17,000 customers, or roughly 50,000 residents, and is 100% imported. We don't have a local groundwater supply. That means reliability, conservation, and proactive infrastructure investment are absolutely critical. Some of the key capital investments underway include advanced metering infrastructure project, which will replace all this meters citywide and allow customers to track usage in real time, helping detect leaks and save water. We're also continuing our mainline replacement and valve rehabilitation programs to address aging infrastructure before it fails, and hardening our pump stations and reservoirs to improve fire resiliency, which is a major community priority. On the wastewater side, the city serves about 38,000 accounts, representing 110,000 residents. All wastewater flows to the Hill Canyon Treatment Plant, which treats about 8 million gallons each day before being released back into the environment. The City of Thousand Oaks operates its water and wastewater utilities as a public, not-for-profit enterprise. We are required by Proposition 218 to set rates that recover only the actual cost of providing service, no more and no less. State law requires cities to periodically review and adjust utility rates so that each customer pays their fair share based on how they use the system. That's why the city conducts formal rate studies every 2 years, projecting into 5 years ahead, but adopting only 2 years of rates at a time to remain adaptable and changing costs or conditions. It's important to emphasize our rates are based solely on the true cost of providing service compliant with Proposition 218. The city has major capital investments planned to keep our infrastructure reliable and in good condition for the community. More than $85 million in wastewater projects and $74 million in water improvements over the next 5 years. These include pipe replacements, treatment plant upgrades, new metering technology, and fire resilient facility hardening are all essential to ensuring long-term reliability to prevent spills, extend asset life, and ensure operations continue even during emergencies. In short, our goal is to keep this system sustainable, fair, and reliable, both now and for the long term. Together, these investments are about protecting public health, supporting fire safety and environmental sustainability, and keeping the systems reliable for the long term. With that overview in mind, I'll move to the next, which is proposed water rates and fees. The city's rate adjustment for water revenue is 5% effective January 2nd, 2026 and January 1st, 2027. The 5% increase supports the city's operations, maintenance, and capital projects. It's the adjustment needed to keep our local water systems functioning and financially stable without new debt. Now let's take a look at the pass-through cost. This charge recovers the cost the city pays Metropolitan Water District in Cayugas, which supplies 100% of our water. In January 2026, the pass-through is 42 cents per unit of water, and in 2027, it increases by another 60 cents per unit. This charge applies evenly across all customer classes and usage tiers. This approach ensures the city can recover wholesale costs directly, as required by state law, while maintaining transparency and preventing both overcharging and undercharging of customers. Together, the 5% city adjustment and the wholesale pass-through keep the water fund balanced, ensure compliance with Proposition 218, and maintain the reliability of our water system. The first chart shows the meter base rates. These are fixed monthly charges based on meter size. For most single-family homes with a 3/4-inch meter, the base charge moves from $28.41 today to $29.84 in 2026, and then to $31.34 in 2027. Larger meters increase proportionally. The next chart shows the single-family residential commodity rates. These are the per-unit charges for water use. The rates are tiered to encourage conservation. The first 12 units billed at the lowest rate. Higher use falls into Tier 2, and the very high use falls into Tier 3. In 2026, the first tier moves from $6.41 to $7.16, and by 2027, it is $8.10. The last chart shows the uniform commodity rates for multifamily, commercial, irrigation, and other non-residential customers. These customers pay a flat rate per unit of water, moving from $6.78 today to $7.54 in 2026 and $8.50 in 2027. Construction water follows a similar adjustment. Together, these adjustments ensure the system remains financially stable, align costs fairly across customer classes, and continue to encourage efficient water use. Here are the pumping lift charges, which are applied per unit per 100 cubic feet HCF of water consumed. These charges are a cost recovery mechanism for customers who live at higher elevations. Water has to be pumped uphill in some parts of the city that require additional electricity. The pumping lift charge ensures that the customers who directly benefit from the extra pumping pay for the additional energy costs rather than spreading them across all ratepayers. The city also maintains separate fixed monthly charges for private fire service connections. These are dedicated pipelines that supply water to private sprinklers and other fire protection systems on commercial or large residential properties. There are only 222 customers that require this service. These charges are based on the diameter of the fire line, since larger pipes require higher capacity and more system readiness to deliver large volumes of water immediately during a fire emergency. The proposed adjustments for 2026 and 2027 apply the same 5% annual increase as our other fixed water charges. This chart shows the estimated monthly water bills in 2026 for 3 types of single-family households: low, medium, and high water use. The blue bars represent the current 2025 bills, and the green bars represent the 2026 bills. For a low-use household of about 10 units of water per month, the monthly bill would go from $92.51 to about $101.44, an increase of $8.93, or 9.7%. For a medium-use household at about 15 units per month, the bill would increase about 10.1%, and for a high-use household of about 40 units per month, the bill would increase 10.6%. Overall, this reflects the combination of the base revenue adjustment and wholesale pass-through. This chart compares Thousand Oaks' single-family residential water bills to those nearby agencies based on the typical household using 15 units of water per month. The green portion of the bar represents the fixed monthly charge, while the blue portion shows the volumetric charge for actual water use. The red dashed line indicates the regional average. In 2025, Thousand Oaks is slightly above the regional average with a typical monthly bill of about $126.36. With the proposed 2026 adjustment, that bill would increase to $139.13. Rates in Thousand Oaks are somewhat higher than the neighboring agencies, primarily because the city relies on 100% imported water. That reliance drives up volumetric charges, and since the imported water is significantly more expensive than local groundwater or recycled supplies available to other communities. The chart comparison here shows July 2025 rates for all the other agencies. Since then, several neighboring agencies have also proposed utility rate increases for 2026, including Ventura, which is proposing increases of about 10.5%, Oxnard with a planned 9.5%, Simi Valley proposing 3.5%, and Camarillo, which has presented preliminary increases equating to roughly 24% rise in the average residential bill. One important distinction is that City of Thousand Oaks continues to invest heavily in fire resiliency projects, including upgrades to reservoirs, pump stations, and backup power systems, investments that our neighboring agencies are not pursuing to the same scale. These projects strengthen reliability, safeguard critical infrastructure, and protect the community during emergencies. The key takeaway is that while our volumetric costs are higher due to water supply realities and proactive capital planning, Thousand Oaks continues to provide reliable, high-quality service, and our rate structure remains fair, transparent, and directly tied to the true cost of providing water. As part of the 2025 water rate study, the city developed water shortage or drought rates to help stabilize revenues during declared droughts. The reason is simple. When conservation is required, customers use less water. That's critical for supply reliability, but when water sales drop, so do the city's revenues. The financial challenge during droughts is that our operating costs don't go down. We still need to pay staff, run pumps, manage the system, maintain valves and pipelines, and keep our reservoirs operating and ready for real emergencies. Without a safeguard, the revenue lost during major droughts, which are likely to continue to happen in the future, can threaten the stability of our water system. Drought rates are designed to protect against that risk. They provide a temporary revenue backstop during droughts, ensuring the city can continue to operate safely without deferring critical maintenance or reducing service levels. Drought rates take the form of a temporary surcharge on the per unit water charge, and the amount is carefully calculated to offset the revenue shortfall that would occur when customers use less water during a declared drought. This ensures that the city's water utility can continue to operate without subsidy and allows essential operations and maintenance to continue even when water sales decline. These drought rates are not being activated today, but they're being formally established through this ordinance so that they are ready to be used if a water shortage is declared in the future. Once adopted, they can only be implemented if the city is under a formally declared drought stage, if in accordance with the city's water shortage contingency plan. Customers would still receive at least 30 days advance notice before the drought rates take effect. This structure gives the city a proactive safeguard to maintain financial stability during the drought conditions, ensuring the water service remains safe, reliable, and sustainable for the future. Now let's move from water to wastewater. The ordinance before council updates the city's wastewater rate schedule consistent with the approved 2025 wastewater rate study. It includes an average annual revenue adjustment of about 7% effective July 1st, 2026 and July 1st, 2027. While the overall adjustment, the exact amount for each customer class varies depending on the amount and strength of the wastewater generated. For example, multifamily customers see smaller increases because their flows are lower, while schools and industrial users see higher adjustments to better reflect their system impact. These updates keep rates proportional to the true cost of service and ensure the city can continue funding critical maintenance and capital improvements at the Hill Canyon Treatment Plant and throughout the collection system. This table shows the updated wastewater rates by customer class as outlined in the ordinance. For single-family homes, our largest group with over 36,000 accounts, the fixed monthly charge increases from $39.17 to $42.88 in 2026, about 9.5% increase, or roughly $44 more per month on the property tax roll. Multifamily residential customers see a decrease of about 12%. This reflects the updated service unit factor, recognizing that apartments and townhomes generate about 20% less wastewater per unit compared to single-family residential. For general commercial customers, our rates are based on service units that account for both the number of plumbing fixtures and the wastewater strength. These generally increase about 9.5%. Restaurants with grease traps actually see a reduction of about 8% since they remove the fats, oils, and grease before discharge. Meanwhile, our industrial users and car washes will see increases of about 20% based on updated flow assumptions consistent with industry standards. Schools increase about 31%, reflecting stronger wastewater concentrations and more consistent year-round usage, recognizing after-school programs, activities, and events like Friday night football games weren't fully captured in the prior rates. Lastly, outside customers pay a small surcharge above the base rate, which adjusts proportionally with these changes. While impacts vary by customer type when averaged across all 38,700 accounts, the overall change equals about 7% increase, consistent with the adopted rate study and ensuring every customer pays their proportionate share of the wastewater system costs. Even with the average $3.71 increase per month to a new monthly rate of $42.88 for a single-family home, Thousand Oaks remains well below the regional average of $68 and significantly less than many others in the county who are shown in this chart. The key point is that even with the $85 million in projects ahead and our proactive focus on infrastructure and technology, our rates stay among the most affordable in the region. Now for an update on our utility assistance program. Since Council approved an assistance program in late 2017, we have received a positive response to the program. The UAP allows for up to 1,600 residential wastewater and 800 residential water customers. Our utility assistance program provides discounts for income-qualified residential customers who are already signed up for the CARE program through Southern California Edison or SoCalGas. For water, the discount is $10 per month, which works out to roughly 10% for a typical low-use household. For wastewater, the discount is $5 per month, and that's about 11.7% off the standard new monthly charge. It's important to note that as a public utility, we're limited in how we can fund these types of programs. Ours is supported by penalties collected on delinquent accounts. That means it does not increase rates for all other customers. This approach provides targeted relief for those who qualify while keeping the general rates fair and proportional under Proposition 218. At this time, we're about 47% capacity for water and 18% for wastewater. We currently have availability for 424 new enrollees for water and 1,317 for wastewater. Now we'll move from the wastewater and water utility assistance program to the Thousand Oaks Municipal Code updates. The first update to the municipal code and accompanying resolution establishes administrative penalties for water theft, things like meter tampering, unauthorized connections, or illegal reconnections. While the word penalty stands out, the real purpose here is protection, protecting the city's investment in its new AMI water meter system and ensuring that unauthorized use isn't paid for by our ratepayers. These new smart meters are a major capital investment for the city. They're expensive, they're sophisticated devices designed to improve accuracy, detect leaks, and modernize the entire system. When meters are tampered with or bypassed, not only does it cause financial loss, it also damages equipment that ratepayers have already paid to install. The administrative penalty process gives the city an efficient and fair enforcement tool consistent with Government Code Section 53069.45, allowing staff to respond quickly and recover costs without having to rely solely on criminal prosecution. The penalties start at $130 for minor tampering, increasing to $700 and $1,300 for repeat offenses. For other types of water theft, such as unauthorized reconnections, the fines range from $1,000 to $3,000 per occurrence. The intent is straightforward: to deter theft, safeguard public assets, and ensure ratepayer fairness. This municipal code update relates to the water meter installation fees, which are already in place today. These fees apply only to new water meter installations, typical for new developments or new service connections, not for existing customers or standard replacements. The fees are calculated based on the actual time and materials, which means installation reflects the true cost of labor, materials, and equipment, including the new AMI smart meters now being installed citywide. The purpose of this action is to update the fee schedule to reflect the current costs and move it to an uncodified ordinance from an uncodified ordinance into city-adopted resolution, which is the appropriate and more transparent format for user fees. This structure allows the city to keep installation charges accurate and up-to-date going forward through the user fee manual. Overall, this ensures fees are cost-based, transparent, and consistent with the city's adopted rate structure. Another section of the municipal code amended is to remove the fixed notice timelines for delinquent accounts from the municipal code. Instead, these procedures will now be managed through policy, which gives us flexibility to adjust as technology, billing systems, or state regulations change. The city will still fully comply with the Water Shutoff Protection Act, Senate Bill 998, which sets minimum requirements for customer notifications and payment timelines. The timeline shown here is just an example of what the timeline looks like, but the update ensures that we can adapt it easily in the future without having to amend the code every time. The city's current SB 998 policy, residential water shutoff policy, is available online at www.tox.gov/water billing. This update formalizes the 3-year limit on billing adjustments for both back billing and refunds when an error is identified. This reflects our current practice and provides consistency in how we handle corrections, ensuring that customers only pay for what they actually use. Establishing this limit helps maintain fairness and administrative clarity for both staff and customers, and is consistent with industry best practices among municipal utilities. This policy also makes it clear that the time limit does not apply in cases of fraud, tampering, unauthorized water use, where full recovery is appropriate. The last municipal code update formalizes the customer's appeal process for disputed water and wastewater bills that are billed directly by the city. This excludes the flat rate single-family residential bills that are collected on the property tax roll. In the past, the process was handled through internal policy pursuant to SB 998, but it wasn't written into the municipal code. As part of this ordinance update, we're also memorializing the full process with both the water and wastewater chapters to make it transparent, consistent, and accessible to customers. The process is now clearly defines each step, from the initial review with the Public Services Division to appeals with the Finance Division Manager or Public Works Supervisor, and finally, a director-level review for unresolved cases. Customers also remain protected during the appeal. Their service won't be interrupted as long as they pay the undisputed portion of the bill while the appeal is pending. This codified process ensures fairness, accountability, and clear expectations for both the customer and staff moving forward. In summary, our recommendations tonight are: 1, conduct the public hearing for the proposed water and wastewater rate ordinances. 2, receive the report from the city clerk regarding the Proposition 218 protest results. 3, adopt the Thousand Oaks Municipal Code updates to align the water and wastewater chapters with current practices and policies. 4th, adopt a resolution establishing administrative penalties for water theft and tampering. And finally, adopt the resolution establishing water meter installation fees based on time and material. These actions complete the 2025 water and wastewater rate study implementation process and ensure all related ordinances and resolutions are current, consistent, and transparent. Staff is available for any questions.
Ms. Tosado, thanks very much for your report. Council members, are there questions of staff? Very good. Well, we will now open public testimony. And I'll ask this twice during this hearing, but if the public has any remaining written protests, please present them to the city clerk now. So as for public speakers, I show 5 listed here. 1 is remote, 4 are here in person. The way I'd like this to proceed, if we can, is I'll call the next 3 speakers who are up, or at bat, if you will. And if you would, please make your way to the area right behind the lectern here, so you'll be ready as soon as your name is called. So the first 3 speakers who are up are Suzanne Schmitz, followed by Jenny Roos, followed by Lynn Zellhart. Ms. Schmitz, good
I'm
evening.
Suzanne Schmitz, and I live in Thousand Oaks. Tonight, I want to express how strongly I oppose the pass-through 2026 price increase on water and wastewater it totals 14.5%. It appears, I know there's been a lot of work done and a lot of committees, but to me, it appears the city is rubber stamping the increase with no tough negotiations with our suppliers. In addition to securing water supply beyond 2 years and beyond drought rates, the city needs to share with us what is the plan for future increased supply. Our city needs to explain why single-family homes sacrifice water for high-density development. There should be no more approvals until we need to push back on Sacramento, and we need to have increased water supply for increased development. Does this proposal include an exception for seniors who do not qualify for care programs, but who will now have to choose between landscaping, showers, laundry and drinking water over groceries, healthcare, and electricity? Can our city, alone or with nearby cities, or even companies collaborating like Amgen, build more infrastructure beyond Hill Canyon, more recycled wastewater facilities? People will understand increases if they knew it was for expansion and they could maintain their yards instead of letting them go to dirt and weeds like we're seeing all over Thousand Oaks. As a lifetime Californian and Thousand Oaks resident, I'm fully aware of the chronic strains on Southern California's water supply. We have issues of drought, especially fires, Palisades in particular, the balance of agriculture and urban areas. However, our suppliers must be transparent with the amount of water that is being utilized for AI facilities and even projects like the Wildlife Bridge that directly drain our water supply. In the US, an average 100 megawatt AI data center consumes about 2 million liters of water per day, the equivalent needs of a small town, 75,000 people. Thousand Oaks needs to be prepared for the future, not only sourcing water, securing water, but planning for increased supply. I've been hearing a lot about maintenance, but the next time you use ChatGPT or Google Gemini, think about how much water you are using. Thousand Oaks is not doing enough to secure our future water supply. It is ironic that a city named Thousand Oaks has vetoed trees and green landscaping to replace it with fake grass and concrete. Trees and landscape filter and clean the air, lower temperatures, add to the quality of our environment and our property values. Fair and reasonable water increases are understood. However, pass-through increases like this need to be aggressively negotiated and locked in for 5 years. In summary, I'm asking for the city not to pass the increase and to go back to our water suppliers to present to voters later in 2026 an improved, forward-thinking proposal that we can all support. Thank you so much. I seriously hope that you'll consider this and not just rubber stamp it.
Thank you. Our next speakers are Jenny Roos, and I apologize if I butchered your name, then Lynn Zellhart and Alan Grant. Ms. Roos, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jenny Roos. I live in the city of Thousand Oaks, and I oppose the increase in the water rates. Thank you for listening to me, Mayor and council members. I agree with the last speaker. I don't think you should rubber stamp and veto this. I want to know what research has been done to not purchase all our supply of water. Why are we dependent on everyone else? Why is our water being increased higher than the cost of living? As a single woman living alone in the city of Thousand Oaks, looking forward to retirement in a couple years, it's all the price hikes on all my utilities are pricing me out of this town. I've lived here, I've been proud, I've been a Girl Scout leader, I've been involved in churches. I just can't afford to retire, and it might not seem like much money right now, and I understand there's infrastructure, but every other year we're getting a price increase on something, and the water, it's just shocking. I'm saving water and my bills are higher. And I just hope that you consider all the price increases you're putting on people that have been here for years that can't afford it, you're going to price out. I've heard so many people say they moved to Thousand Oaks because they didn't want to be the next valley, and I feel that we're turning into the next valley. All these increases, including the water price, are literally drowning me. Please reconsider.
Thank you. Our next speakers are Lynn Zellhart, followed by Alan Grant, and then Ray Lemieux remotely. Ms. Zellhart, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Zellhart. I live in Thousand Oaks, and I agree substantially with what the last speaker said. I just wanted to add, a couple things from our perspective. I appreciate the report that was done. Very logical. I always appreciate a good report, but I feel like somebody also needs to speak for just the regular people out who live in Thousand Oaks, because, in 2021, 2022, when we were in severe drought, everybody in my neighborhood took out their, lawns and put in these kind of ugly but environmentally friendly landscaping, and our reward for this was our rates were increased. And then you guys did a pretty sneaky thing. You went from billing us every other month to billing us every month, and the bill's pretty much the same. So basically, my water rates, I feel like they've doubled. That I'm getting twice as many bills, and they're about the same. We're getting killed out here. Single family owners, middle class is getting killed out here. Half my neighborhood put in solar, and the response was the Public Utilities Commission revoked NEM 2, and then Edison raised our rates, right? And it's it's because of fires. Okay, that's all fine. I know that's real, but it's real out here too. Every time we turn around, we're getting hit with these rate increases. And, I guess it looks like a little increase. And again, I do appreciate the effort. I understand these things have to be done, but I want the city council to understand that we feel it out here. It hurts. And I kind of do think the middle class is getting screwed. And all we do is show up to city council meetings, vote every single election, take care of the kids, take care of our parents, volunteer at things. Thousand Oaks is a great community, and we're the heart of this community. And I'm just asking you to try to figure out a way to pass this on to somebody else for a change, because we're taking it in the shorts out in the middle class. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan Grant, followed by Ray Lemieux. Mr. Grant, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, staff. Thank you. One of my first concerns is the fact that I'd like to be in last place as far as the water rates in this city, compared to Moore Park. Every time I look at the chart, Moore Park's at the bottom. How the heck do they do that? Okay. The second part I'd like to talk about is Santa Barbara, little cousin up north. You may have seen this. This is our map. This is our reclamation program, where the purple is the reclaimed water, and they pump it out and they put it on all their landscapes. It's also possible to use it for firefighting systems. Right now in Santa Barbara, that represents about 800 acre-feet per year, or about 600,000 gallons of water per day that they didn't have. So what I think we need to do is we need to look at an alternative source. Somewhere there's got to be water that we can use again. I'm not saying that we're going to reclaim the water and we're going to drink it, okay? We can use water a second time in other sources, firefighting, plants, okay? Kind of got ahead of myself there. The other part is this Department of Water and Power, or what do you call yourself? Public Works Department. You have meters now that read in real time to satellites. So I would guess there's no more meter readers. And then the other part is, like the lady in front of me was talking about, the billing is now changed to electronic, because since there's meter readings, it goes right into a computer, and voila, a bill. Okay, well, why wasn't the rate for the PWP changed, since all those people apparently aren't there anymore? I would expect a rate change. I'd expect it to go down. Okay? I would like the PWD to be thinking about these kinds of things and trying these kinds of approaches, or at least letting us know that they're thinking about them, so that we know they're considering all things, all possible scenarios to make our water bill lower, not higher. we will not support this proposed increase. Thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
The final public speaker I see listed is remote via video conference, and that is Ray Lemieux. Mr. Lemieux, please go ahead.
Hi, I assume you can see me and hear me?
Just fine. Please proceed, sir.
Okay. I want to first say I was very impressed with the completeness and the quality of this flyer that was sent out, a couple of months ago. And I also downloaded and read that 160-page PDF, and again was impressed with the depth of analysis applied to that whole thing. And still, I'm with the other participants here who are basically, opposed to the idea of a 10% increase for each of the next 2 years. It seems a little extreme. And I have to say that the experts obviously know a lot more about all this than I do. And I'm trusting the experts because I think this is going to happen no matter what. The public participation tonight has been really disappointing. I expected like maybe dozens of people to make comments, and there's just a handful of us here. So I mean, this is basically going to happen, and hopefully it's for the good. But with the little time I have, I just want to put a personal spin on this. So I've got a little thing I'm going to read from here. Bear with me. I don't think it's going to take more than the few minutes that I have allowed. My household in Thousand Oaks is a single-family residence with 2 occupants on a typical 10,000 square foot lot. I'm committed to energy and resource conservation, and we've made many investments along those lines. We own a plug-in hybrid car and a compact gas engine car. We've installed solar panels on our roof and LED lamps in most of our lighting fixtures. We replaced all of our grass with gravel, drought-tolerant plants, and low-flow irrigation. We have a water-conserving dishwasher and clothes washer. We made these changes years ago. Another thing I've been doing is tracking changes in our water use over the last 18 years. In round numbers, we've gone from about 130,000 gallons a year in 2008 to as low as 45,000 gallons a year during the drought years of 2022 and 23. The last 2 years are in the 55,000 gallon range, and that difference is due to an increase in irrigation after the drought restrictions were lifted. I track irrigation consumption separately from other water use. During the dry season, the most water we use for irrigation in a month is about 1,400 gallons. During the winter, it drops to about 1,000 gallons a month. Over a full year, irrigation accounts for only about 30% of our total consumption, which is currently around 4,500 gallons a month. Interestingly, as we have gradually been using less and less water, our total annual water costs since 2008 have stayed nearly constant at roughly $1,000 a year. It's a classic example of shrinkflation, which means paying the same price for less and less product. However, this is clearly going to change in 2026 and 27, when each of those years will incur a roughly 10% cost increase. As far as I know, that is unprecedented. And going forward, there won't be any usage that we can cut back on other than reducing irrigation. So now I guess we should eliminate irrigation entirely and have nothing but native plants or no plants on our property. That would go hand in hand with the impending requirement to remove all plants near our house as a precaution against wildfires. And yes, our house is in an extreme fire danger zone. So that's the end of my little story. I guess I'm probably out of time. And I just want to reiterate, I understand that this is going to happen, but it seems like a really extreme rate increase that we're going to be facing for the next 2 years. And then we don't even know what's going to happen beyond that. So I really hope you folks know what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lemieux, very much. Thank you to all the public speakers. Do we have any additional public speakers? No, not seeing any. Okay, then we will go back to staff for any responses to public comment.
Yes, good evening. Nader Haidari, Public Works Director. I think I can field most of the comments that were raised earlier. I do want to start with appreciating all the steps the residents have taken citywide over the past several years, particularly since 2021-22, when we were in the drought situation, and collectively as a community, I think there was a 30 or 40% reduction in water use, which was very impressive. The unfortunate fact is the cost of us delivering that water and the inflationary pressures that we're facing on purchasing equipment and materials, doing construction and maintenance that's needed to maintain these systems also keeps increasing at a very rapid level. That's part of the factors that go into the rate increases that we're presenting tonight. We have a very complex system of water infrastructure in the city with 16 reservoirs, 16 pump stations, and over 200 miles of pipelines just for our section of the city, and almost 2,000 fire hydrants. So there's a lot there to maintain and keep up to standard. And so that's part of the opening remarks I wanted to make. Our water portfolio is somewhat limited as compared to other areas of Ventura County where they have water right underneath their feet, basically. We don't have a groundwater basin here in Thousand Oaks that is accessible or sustainable. We have a very limited groundwater supply. In fact, before imported water came in to the Thousand Oaks area, the population of the city was in the 10 or 20,000 level, and obviously, I'm going back to the mid-century in the 20th century, and we're much beyond that now, and that's only due to the imported water that we've been bringing in. One of the residents brought up the Moore Park example. They have abundant groundwater in Moore Park, as they do in Oxnard and many of the other agencies throughout the county. That's a feature that we do not have. There's benefits we do have with our terrain and with our siting of our Hill Canyon treatment plant. So in that case, you'll see our wastewater rates are amongst the lowest in the county, but some of those same factors cause our water rates to be amongst the highest in the county, and part of that's just geographic nature of where we are and what our geology is below the surface of the ground here in Thousand Oaks compared to other agencies. We are doing quite a bit of evaluation. I'd be happy to share a lot of the studies. We've done multiple studies, probably 10 engineering studies over the last 10 years to evaluate opportunities and options that we have to source and bring local groundwater or recycled water to the residents of the city. And each of those has yielded either a not sustainable or sufficient supply, or the costs for such a endeavor are significantly higher than the existing imported water costs that we have. So, however, we're not leaving that alone. We are in close partnership with Callegas Municipal Water District. They're taking a more active stance in being a water solutions provider for the county instead of just the wholesaler that brings the water in from the metropolitan and delivers it to the local cities here. So they're looking at multiple different options for regional water use and new water sources throughout the county. And there's several possible opportunities there that we're continuing to work with them on. There are other, we have had, regarding the meter reading, we have not had meter readers for several years. We are upgrading the meters to the full AMI meter. However, even prior to that, the existing ones don't require, at least for the last several years, have not required a person to actually walk around and read the meter. So there's no real staff cutting to be done in that realm. Those AMI meters, however, and the combination of going to a monthly billing has provided the residents with a much better benefit in terms of opportunity to manage their bill in real time, as opposed to getting their bill 60 to 70 days later and then trying to work out, why was this higher? Where's my leak? So these all equip the residents with the ability to track leaks or other activity on their property in a real-time basis. Our new AMI meters that we're rolling out do have an app that you can download and watch your usage in real time, which has helped people conserve water even further. A couple of other notes to bring up. It was mentioned in the PowerPoint, but there is a significant amount of resiliency projects that we're doing to bolster our water system, whether that's generators that we're going to be installing at every single pump station, additional water quality improvements at each location, and site hardening to help us have a infrastructure that can withstand the more and more extreme events, weather events that we are having. The graphic which showed us at the upper limits of the water rates in the county, again, to reiterate, that is showing our future rates versus other agencies' current rates. And so as those other agencies, as Tara mentioned, do their water rate increases over the next few months, it's anticipated that that gap will be closed, or quite likely that we will not be at the upper end of the chart. So it's kind of an apples and oranges graphic a little bit at this moment, comparing 2026 rates for Thousand Oaks versus past rates for other cities. Let's see if I have one or two more remarks. And also one thing to note, even with these increases, the water rates, considering that the resource and the value of the water, they are still, it is about a penny per gallon is the water that we're delivering to the properties throughout the town, a resilient and high quality water supply. A question came up about negotiating with our suppliers. They have their own costs and infrastructure and storage improvements that they're making throughout the Southern California area, and significant improvements that they're making. And so there is not really an opportunity on an agency by agency basis to make individual deals with that supplier. That's their cost, and that's what they pass on to the local purveyors. They go through public notifications on their increases, and like everybody else does. I think that's the majority of. I think I touched on most of the comments.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Council members, are there any questions of staff? Councilmember Adam.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so you bring a good point about that chart. The rest of the cities are behind us when it comes to these rate adjustments, and when they do theirs, they'll catch up with us. So it looked like we were higher, but that won't hold. I think you're absolutely right about that. And this city was incorporated back in 1964. We're over 50 years since incorporation. And back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, we had a huge amount of growth, all new pipelines, all new water infrastructure. But that was then, this is now. Now we're a maintenance city. We're not growing as much as we used to by any means. And to maintain this infrastructure is hugely important. And correct me if I'm wrong, if you put off the maintenance of our infrastructure, what you end up with, and some cities fall prey to this with the lack of foresight, is spikes in rates way higher than what we're looking right now to try to catch up to keep the infrastructure functioning properly.
Yeah, in the field of public infrastructure, deferred maintenance is a skeleton in the closet that comes back and bites you pretty hard later on, and you wind up in a much worse condition. You have to replace the entire reservoir, for instance, rather than just doing the maintenance of it. And some of that maintenance I didn't go into also includes major seismic upgrades that we're making at all the reservoirs to help prevent such a scenario where we have to, do a complete, rebuild of a reservoir. I also, on the issue of shortage, there is no water shortage situation right now, or there is no capacity issue at the wastewater treatment plant. We've been making lots of investments ourselves, as have our suppliers. So there is no capacity building necessarily to be done here locally. In fact, our reservoirs in Thousand Oaks are sized sufficiently. In fact, they were sized for a potentially larger population than we currently have. So there's no capacity or shortage issues.
And we do keep up with it. I mean, definitely with the water infrastructure you just mentioned, but our Hill Canyon treatment plant, which treats, 9, 10 million gallons a day, I think.
Yeah.
It's functioning beautifully, and we continue to do what it takes to maintain it on a gradual basis, and that's why one of the reasons our wastewater rates are as low as they are.
That is certainly the case, being a proactive, and we're also in terms of water resources, all of that 8 or 9 million gallons a day of water that gets treated at the Hill Canyon treatment plant is being beneficially reused and being recycled. It's not being pumped back up the hill into Thousand Oaks. We have studies on that again would entail that would entail higher costs, and as well as the infrastructure of installing a purple pipe system throughout town. We're talking about $100 million plus project. So the ROI on that one would be negative and would cause water rates to go up even further.
Mm-hmm. That's right, and that water that is treated is released and infused into the groundwater all the way out to the Oxnard Plains, isn't it?
Correct, and being captured by the local, the downstream water purveyor, Camarosa Water District, for irrigation.
Well, it pays to keep up with this stuff. It's just like your house or your car. I mean, if you put it off, it's going to bite you in the end. So I think we're doing the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Are there other questions of staff? Councilmember Engler.
Just a quick question. Thank you to the speakers today that come out tonight. One of the speakers mentioned activities by the city to work with the state to increase supply or to do something about our water rates from the supply side. Can you go a little bit into what we have advocated for? I know that the Delta conveyance pipeline has been coming and going now for a number of years. Where are we on that? Have we supported that? How are we pushing back on some of the water rates? Do we attend Callegas's water rate surveys and things like that? Can you go a little bit into how we are working to try to keep those rates down, as indicated by one of our public speakers?
Yes, certainly. We've been supportive of statewide and local regional efforts to increase storage and capacity and basically long-term resiliency to maintain our vital supply of water to the region. One of them includes, as you mentioned, that state Delta channel project, which has been brewing for tens of years and seems to be maybe inching forward, but and that's on the state level. Obviously, on the local level, as I mentioned, yes, we're heavily involved. We're meeting on a multiple time a month basis with our supplier, Callegas Municipal Water District, to identify solutions and also to closely track the improvements that they are making, not only to Lake Bard and their entire water system, but beyond, and new ideas and new initiatives they have to help bring local water supplies to eastern Ventura County. They've adopted a new strategic plan as an organization just last year, which has kind of pivoted them from being a water wholesaler to more of a water solutions provider for the entire county. And they're situated, their headquarters are in Thousand Oaks, so that helps us to have the local attention from them. We're not trying to get the attention of an agency in Ventura. They're actually in Thousand Oaks, so we're heavily involved on that front.
And what's our relationship with the Clean Water Project over at Las Virgenes? Are we connected with them in any way?
Yeah, so that's a large $500 or $600 million project that the Las Virgenes Municipal Water District is building to do a full recycled water system to take their wastewater and put it back into their drinking water system indirectly through reservoirs and through groundwater. That project will help reduce the imported water strain on the entire region, freeing up resources for other agencies such as ourselves, on an overall basis. So we are in support of that. They, in addition, have constructed, them and Callegas have constructed a expensive but important interconnect on Lindero Canyon Road that allows those two agencies to pass water back and forth in the case of an emergency, which could greatly help us in that future event if the source from Callegas is damaged through some sort of catastrophic event. Then there's now a backup system to continue to get water and deliver water to Thousand Oaks. So those are good initiatives.
And one final question, Ms. Mayor, thank you. The last time I was heavily involved in this stuff, I noticed, I knew that to reclaim water resulted in water that was roughly twice as expensive as surface water that we get from the Delta and whatever. Have we looked into what it would take for us to do Hill Canyon with even a portion recycled, and then the purple pipe that would be needed to bring it into town? Have we looked at those costs?
Yes, we just actually did an analysis of that last year. I don't have the exact number here, but it wasn't twice as much as our imported water cost, but it was somewhere in the range of 50% more than the current cost we're paying to receive water. So now that gap keeps closing every year as the imported water costs are increasing. So at some point that might be begin to make a little bit more sense, but that's something that's why we're continuing to monitor all these different options.
Camarillo did a project not too long ago. What was the cost on their plant?
I think it was 100, or in the range of 100 million. Maybe it was 80 or something like that. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just have a couple of questions. Thank you for all your responses. Appreciate it. And as well to all the speakers for raising many good points. With regard to groundwater reuse, during the drought, or maybe it was during the last time we did this, a couple of years ago, there was a statement about a really significant proportion of residential water being put toward outdoor ornamental use, so watering of lawns, plants, that sort of thing. It was something like 50 or 60%, something like that. Is that still the case?
Yeah, at the time of the drought, it was roughly 70% of the water that's used in Thousand Oaks was used for outdoor purposes. And that's probably dipped a little bit because of people's, removing lawns, et cetera. But so I would say maybe it's 60% is kind of a
So still a
good number.
really
Yeah.
significant
Correct.
part of the pie. And in response of some of the newer developments the city has entitled, make good use of reuse of water, right? Doing things like, for example, in a multifamily project where there's a parking lot, instead of just having asphalt where the water runs off into the sewer, there are pavers. So the water seeps down through the paving stones, is recaptured, and then is used to irrigate landscaping on site on the project. And that's something that we are encouraging as a policy. Is that the case?
Yeah, the newer developments that are built to the latest CalGreen code and building codes are significantly more, economical with their water use. And I think the average resident in a newer multifamily unit uses about half of the water as the typical resident in a single-family home.
And this reuse of of stormwater helps toward that.
Yeah.
So that is a good option going forward. Great. And then the only other question I had, because it came up the last time we did this as well, is you mentioned something like 10 studies that we've done. And we've done a lot to look for other sources because we don't have water here. We always have imported all of our water. Some of those studies, I believe, looked at desalinization. And we had a number of people 2 years ago and since then asking, why aren't we doing desalinization? Why isn't that a viable option? And I believe that we have looked at that, and in places that do use desalinization today, such as, for example, North County, San Diego, water costs are substantially higher than they are here. So can you speak to that a bit? And what the impact would be vis-à-vis the rates and the rate increase we're contemplating tonight?
Yeah, certainly. We don't have access to the ocean, as a municipality here, but certainly it does exist just neighboring cities here in the county, and so that Calleguas has done a couple studies on it. I don't think they've done one in a few years. In their perspective, the desal is kind of a last resort type of situation because of the costs, the energy costs, and the permitting aspects of it because of its harmful nature to the ocean and wildlife in the ocean, because it sucks in some percentage of the fish and other species in the ocean. So that is, I believe they're looking at evaluating that again. There's a pilot project going on right now at the Las Virgenes Municipal Water District with a new type of desal that it could potentially be less impactful, and there's the pods, and they don't have the velocity, or they don't pull in the water the same way that the previous desalinization does. So there is a pilot study going on here for the next couple of years to evaluate the feasibility of that, and then maybe take that to the next level. And if a technology breakthrough happens, that definitely could help change the game there. But as it stands, as you mentioned, that would increase the water rates primarily due to the energy that's involved to push the water through and run it through the desalinization process, as well as to pipe it all the way throughout the county. Currently, the Calleguas' water system is set up in such a fashion to move water from eastern Ventura County, which is where they bring it in from the Santa Susana Mountains through Chatsworth, westerly toward western Ventura County. So if they were to get desal water from the ocean, they have no way of bringing it back to Thousand Oaks unless they would run all new,
Right.
4-foot diameter pipelines all across the county to come up here. So the desal itself is already much more expensive and will lead to higher bills, and then not to mention the infrastructure cost to bring it from west to east.
Right. So I'm glad you mentioned the key phrase here being last resort, that even discounting the really significant energy costs of desalinization process itself, there would then be, if we're talking about ocean water, there would then be the energy cost of pumping it up some hill to get it to Thousand Oaks.
That's
And
correct.
that would probably, almost certainly result in water rates substantially higher than even the increased rates we're talking about here, correct?
That is correct.
Very good, thank you. Council, is there any other questions of staff? Councilmember Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mayor Newman. I thought I'd hang tight. Councilmember Engler had answered a lot of my questions, or had my questions answered. I thought you might cover this last one. But I just wanted to ask really quickly, because it was mentioned in public comment, two things really quickly. Seniors that don't qualify for the CARE kind of, indicator for the electric or other utilities. Is there a pathway to some type of assistance, and are we sharing that out? I'm sure it's on our website if something does exist. So I'm just unaware, would love to learn and share that with community. And then secondly, really quickly, because it was mentioned again, is there an opportunity for longer periods as reference to be locked in? And then also, what are the benefits to pursuing that pathway and/or disadvantages, if any? Thank you.
So the Utility Assistance Program, we do it based off of the income level. So specifically seniors, no. But every year we look and verify that the CARE program is updating its standards for the level of poverty to make sure that we are consistent. We do have capacity in that program to enroll new enrollees. It is on our website. It is a form. And we do look at, when we're talking to people on the phone, when they're delinquent or if they need help and they call us, we do suggest those programs. But for seniors specifically on a fixed income, we don't unless they meet the income standards.
Understood. Thank you.
And then the second question was to lock in rates.
Yeah, is there an opportunity for discussions around that? 2 years to 5 years, or, are there any or what would be the benefits? And obviously the longer locked-in rate, but I imagine because this isn't a for-profit increase, that there may be some disadvantages. So I wanted to ask that question.
That's correct. So we do rate studies every 2 years and project 5 years into the future. We don't lock in rates for more than 2 years at a time, just to make sure that we're agile and we can adjust up or down depending on what's going on in the current economy and situation. If we were to lock in the rate, and historically we have done that at one point for wastewater, just as a historical practice, the result is eventually a higher increase because it's deferring cost to the future. So we prefer a gradual and relational increase or change to make sure that we are just recovering our costs and maintenance for that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so prior to closing the public hearing, I'm going to make one last call for written protests. And once the public hearing is closed, which is the next thing we'll do, there will be no more opportunity for written protests. So if there are any, please deliver them to the clerk. I do see one more protest coming in. And we'll wait just a moment. So any other written protests? Okay. The public hearing is now closed. Will the city clerk please provide the results of the tabulation?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the total number of notices issued by the city on the proposed water rate increase was 17,186. 17 valid protests were received prior to tonight's public hearing. One protest was received this evening pending verification. So that means a total of 18 protests received. Based on these results, there are insufficient protests received for a majority protest. As a note, 8,594 protests were required. And the total number of notices issued by the city on the proposed wastewater rate increase was 39,165. 13 valid protests were received prior to tonight. One protest was received this evening pending verification, and that's a total of 14. Based on these results, there's also an insufficient number of protests received for a majority protest. And as a note, 19,583 protests would be required. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we will now move toward council discussion and/or motion. Mayor Pro Tem Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. Was it Lynn? Lynn, I think you nailed the head on the, what's the phrase? Nailed the head on the hammer? Is that correct?
Other way around.
Nailed the hammer on the head? What is it? Nailed it. Here we go. Lynn, when you mentioned that the middle class is getting killed out here, I have nothing other to tell you than, yeah. And it's hard to see. And the middle class is the backbone of our nation. And when you go through years now of inflation that's ultimately passed down to everyone else, and then we sit here as policymakers trying to figure out what to do, none of us up here take that lightly. We recognize that year after year after year. I think one of the speakers mentioned there's only 5 people that came up to speak. I think we have now gotten so used to everything costing so much every additional year that it's become normal, and I think that's a horrible scenario. Now, our city has a lot of great things. I think we could all agree that the city's amazing. The water scenario is not ideal. And that's something that I will just say to everyone here. I'm in continuous conversations with our supervisors and our partners to try to figure out what we can do so that we're not so reliable for our water to other parties. We don't have a solution yet. So for our program, at least the way I'm looking at it, is we're not raising these fees to make a profit. We're just trying to be able to sustain this program. And I know that's nuanced because there's money that goes into maintenance and there's money that goes into investment. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that this system works well, and so that something doesn't go wrong and we have to turn around and have a massive kind of recoup of costs. So it's not an ideal situation. I know any increase on anything is painful right now. I have a family of 6, and just going to the grocery store is painful every week. But I think this is unfortunately a step that needs to be done so that we have a system that is not taking a loss, that we can recoup at least what's going in and try to maintain a system that at least operates well for our community. So for me, I will move this motion. I wish it wasn't an increase of fee, but I understand why we need to do it. So I will move, where am I, 10A and staff recommendation.
Thank you. Councilmember Adam, any comment? Councilmember Engler?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I wholeheartedly agree with my colleague. To pass along costs to our citizens is not something we enjoy doing. The same pressures that are in the public also affect the city. The electricity rates have gone up for the city. We that we so quickly went through our consent items included millions of dollars in capital improvements for the water system and for the sewer systems. That was not the case a few years ago. It was a lot less. Cost of construction has outpaced just regular inflation by, I think it's what, 2.5 times regular inflation. So the cost of the city for concrete, for steel, for all these other things we need for our maintenance of the system, as my other colleague pointed out, that is now 60, 65 years old, is going up. And I hate to just pass that along to everyone, but if we don't, then we're going to be playing catch up down the line, and that is typically more expensive. I will support the motion based on the fact that we need to do these things.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Gutierrez, any comment? Very good. I again want to thank everyone who came here tonight, whether you spoke or not. I agree with much that was said. As your neighbor and as a fellow ratepayer, I'm not happy to be sitting here in this position looking at bills that will be higher next year and higher still the year after that. If this was a business, if the city of Thousand Oaks was in business, there would be more freedom in terms of the way a business could operate vis-a-vis you, the customer. A business can undercut its competitors. It can operate at a loss for a short time to gain more business. We cannot do that. We have a policy of cost recovery, whereas in the long term, to be fiscally responsible, we have to charge what our actual costs are and not less than that. A business, once it gets rid of its competitors, can gouge its customers and charge way more than its costs. We cannot do that either. There is a state law, Prop 218, it's been in effect since the mid-90s, that says we cannot charge 1 penny more than what it costs. So we're in a very constrained position here where there's a floor because we have this policy of cost recovery, and there is a ceiling because of Prop 218 that are essentially one and the same, that say we have to charge what it costs. We're not making up those numbers. Those really are our costs, and they really have gone up, as Mayor Pro Tem Taylor stated. Inflation is an unfortunate fact of lives, of all of our lives, based on factors that are well beyond the purview of the Thousand Oaks City Council. But all the same, we do want to keep our infrastructure in good working order. There's another point about the need for maintenance that Councilmember Engler touched on. We didn't make a lot of noise about it because our Public Works Department doesn't take curtain calls when they do heroic work, which is often. Many of you remember in January when the Palisades and Eaton fires occurred, we had unprecedented power outages here. Those power outages, unfortunately, affected our city our city water supply. The Public Works Department did heroic work for days running the system manually. Your drinking water was always safe to drink. Pressure levels always stayed at safe fire flow levels. But that's a really dodgy proposition. We don't ever want to be in that position again. So to that end, we are spending millions, literally millions, just this calendar year alone, on adding generator capacity and putting that in fire-hardened buildings at all of our pumping stations and at our reservoirs, so that no matter what happens, even if the power goes out, you will continue to have safe drinking water and an adequate water supply. And that's good, it's necessary, it's responsible, but all that stuff costs money. And so when people are asking why does it cost as much as it does, these are factors that we have to deal with living in a city that has so much area that are in high or very high severity zones. And unlike other cities, has been pointed out, we do not, unfortunately, have our own basins or aquifers or other water sources here in the city that we can tap on. So we continue to look at other options. We will use those when they are less than or equal to the cost that you pay now, but we don't want to do something just to do it, just because it's the buzzword of the month, because we're going to end up paying more for that. And that's not a bargain in anyone's book. So the final comment I want to raise, again, is about inflation. And there was a comment made that the rates increasing here are above the rate of inflation. And generally, that's literally correct if you take the national rate of inflation or even the Los Angeles area rate of inflation. Yes, these rates are higher than that. But again, our city runs on a basis of cost recovery. And the rate of inflation for delivering water in a safe and responsible way and delivering wastewater services in a safe and responsible way, what we are proposing here is not a penny more than those rates of inflation. And that's what these rates are based on. So I join with my colleagues in saying it gives us no pleasure whatever to be here tonight, to be having to ask you, the residents, who are doing the right thing on drought controls, on putting in drought-tolerant landscaping. We encourage that, and we'll continue to encourage that. But for all the reasons my colleagues have stated and that staff has stated, we really are in a place where the floor and the ceiling are one and the same. And I wouldn't say we're rubber stamping this. I'm saying that we've looked at all the alternatives, and based on the very considerable and well considered evidence that staff has presented, these are our costs, and that's why we ask what we ask. So I will support this motion as well. So unless there are any other comments, I will ask the clerk to please prepare us for a vote.
And that motion passes 5-0, and I have two ordinance titles to read. Ordinance adjusting and setting rates and fees of the City Water Division, uncodified, and amending Thousand Oaks Municipal Code Title 10, Chapter 2 regarding water utilities, and an ordinance adjusting and setting rates and fees of the City Wastewater Division, uncodified, and amending Thousand Oaks Municipal Code Title 10, Chapter 2 regarding wastewater utilities.
Thank you. And once again, my thanks to everyone who testified, everyone who's watching this hearing. We'll continue to watch and work on our water and wastewater services. We go next to council issues and recommendations. There is a trip report. Last month, several staff members and 3 council members attended the annual meeting of the League of California Cities in Long Beach. Those included Council Members Engler, Gutierrez, and myself. And Councilmember Gutierrez, would you like to present the trip report?
Thank you, Mayor Newman. I had the privilege of joining my colleagues, as Mayor mentioned, at Cal City's annual conference, where leaders from across California came together to learn, problem solve, and share what's working in our communities. It's always a pleasure and energizing to be in these rooms with other like-minded community-serving leaders. And so a few things that I'd like to share from our conference are, as you would have guessed, cities across California are navigating some of the same priorities we talk about here from the dais and that staff bring to us, from housing to immigration to wildlife resiliency to adapting to the ever-evolving state and federal policies. This year's focus, really underscored the importance of local leadership and thoughtful planning that protects community character while meeting the needs of future generations. And I felt like they tore that from the Thousand Oaks playbook itself. I've been hearing that for a very long time, just as a resident. We also spent a lot of time on innovations in technology. This was also a moment of pride that I was able to feel and take away, as I know that our IT department and technology plan was already underway, and we seemed to be ahead of the curve. So that was something I thought was worth mentioning. And also, youth engagement was a growing topic statewide, and I'm proud again to say that Thousand Oaks is continuously building opportunities for young leaders to learn and serve and help shape the future of our community. And then lastly, the conference reinforced that local government is where trust is built. It's where people turn first, and I'm proud that Thousand Oaks continues to show up in these statewide conversations, both as they call out examples and also call out our best practices statewide. And again, this is now maybe the 3rd conference I've attended where that has been a consistent theme, and again, very, very proud to share in community those highlights. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you. Councilmember Engler, anything to add?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, me either. That really summed up our trip very nicely. I do want to thank the staff members, recognize, and please call out if I've missed anyone. Of course, our legislative affairs manager, Mina Leba, as always. I believe City Attorney Tracy Noonan was there and was featured, by the way, in a photo presentation. Not only in a photo presentation, but in an AI-generated song in which the lyrics called out our city attorney. Who knew? Assistant City Manager, Ingrid Hardy, I believe, was there as well. There may be others who I've missed, and my apologies to others on staff who were there as well. But I think we all found it, as we do always with these conferences, very enlightening and very helpful to talk with our peers in other cities, other agencies who are facing the same challenges we are, and learning about different ways to address these challenges. So thank you again. So with that, We go to, oh yeah, this is a receive and file item, so I'll ask for a motion on the trip report. Mayor Pro Tem Taylor?
I'll move 15A.
Very good. Please prepare us for a vote.
And that motion passes 5-0.
Thank you again. We go now to City Manager Drew Powers for his report.
Thank you, Mayor Newman. Just a quick update. We will have no meeting on the 18th of November, and our next regularly scheduled meeting will be the 2nd of December. And on December 2nd, we are currently slated to have recognition under special presentations of one of our long-serving investment review committee members. We're going to also have our Ventura County Civic Alliance State of the Region report. We'll have a public hearing to update our purchasing ordinance. We will have an action related to our work on the 401-403 Hillcrest project. And then we'll have two committee commission board reports, one from the city's investment review committee, their annual report, and the FY 2025-26 sports facility grant recommendations. That'll be the 2nd of December, and I'd like to wish everybody a happy and healthy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. That's an action-packed meeting on the 2nd of December. Before we go tonight, we'll be adjourning in honor of the Borderline Day of Remembrance. Tonight, we honor the 12 innocent lives that were taken by the senseless tragedy at the Borderline Bar and Grill on November 7th, 2018. This November marks the 7th anniversary of one of the most devastating events in our city's history. We are committed to celebrating and remembering the lives of Sean, Cody, Elena, Daniel, Justin, Christina, Telemachus, Joel, Jake, Mark, Blake, and Ron. Tonight's adjournment celebrates lives full of hopes, dreams, and promises that were taken that night. The community shares in the grief and aftermath of those affected and remains dedicated to building a stronger community foundation of love, compassion, service, and unity. We recognize the 248 survivors and family members who have been so deeply traumatized and irrevocably changed forever. We honor the first responders who selflessly assisted all those involved, bravely risking their own lives to protect others, including Ventura County Sheriff Sergeant Ron Helis, who courageously faced danger and made the ultimate sacrifice to save others. This November 7th, on behalf of the City Council, I order the city flag lowered to half-staff for the Day of Remembrance as a sign of this community's commitment to remembering and honoring the fateful events of that day. At this time, I would like to ask TOTV for the playback of a memorial video.
I can't stand to fly. I'm not that naive. I'm just out to find the better part of me. I'm more than a bird, I'm more than a plane, I'm more than some pretty face beside a train. And it's not easy to be me. I wish that I could cry, fall upon my knees, find a way to lie about a home I'll never see. It may sound absurd, but don't be naive. Even heroes have the right to bleed. I may be disturbed, but won't you concede to be me.
We are adjourned to our next regular meeting of December 2nd, 2025. Good night, Thousand Oaks.